Okay, it's a good day to say that. All right, y'all ready? I'm ready. As the mayor of the town of Clayton, I'd like to call this regular town council meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. I'd like to invite you now to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation. I pledge allegiance to the flag and to the republic for which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Let us pray. Most gracious and heavenly Father, we pause to give you thanks for the many blessings of this day, and we ask, Lord, now that you be with us as we proceed with the business for the town of Clayton. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Do we have any adjustments to the agenda?
No adjustments necessary, sir.
Then I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the agenda as presented. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next is your consent agenda.
Motion to approve. Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next, we have several special presentations for this evening, and the first one we're going to begin with is the National Lineman Appreciation Day proclamation, and I will give the floor to Councilmember Archer.
Thank you, Mayor. Town of Clayton National Lineman Appreciation Day proclamation. Whereas linemen are often first responders during weather emergencies and other catastrophic events, they diligently work to make scenes safer for other emergency responders. And whereas their profession requires skill, knowledge, passion, and dedications, and whereas linemen work around thousands of volts of electricity high atop power lines 365 days a year to keep electricity flowing, and whereas linemen work under dangerous conditions away from their family to construct and maintain the energy infrastructure of the town of Clayton. And now, therefore, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we hereby proclaim Thursday, April 18th, 2024, as National Lineman Appreciation Day in the town of Clayton. Proclaim this 15th day of April 2024.
Thank you. And now if I can get all of our linemen to come down front with Councilman Archer, and let's get a picture, and let's have a nice round of applause for the great work they do for all of us. Thank you. Up next will be the Administrative Professionals Day proclamation presented by Councilmember Williams.
Thank you, Mayor. Town of Clayton Administrative Professionals Day proclamation. Whereas the last Wednesday of the month of April is Administrative Professionals Day, recognizing the important contribution that administrative professionals make each year to our workplace. And whereas administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operation of business, government, educational institutions, and other organizations. And whereas the work of administrative professionals require advanced knowledge and expertise in communication, computer software, office technology, project management, organization, customer service, and other vital office management responsibility. And now, therefore, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we hereby proclaim April the 24th, 2024 as Administrative Professionals Day in the town of Clayton, and citizens are encouraged to recognize and celebrate the central role administrative professionals play in our town. Proclaim this the 15th day of April 2024.
Thank you, ma'am. Say again. I can't hear you. All right, we would like for all, thank you. We would like for all of our professional administrators to please come down front and get a picture made with Councilman Williams. And let's have a nice round of applause for this group too. I'll tell you what, we'd be nothing without this group. I was trying to make sure. Photo. Next on our list will be International Firefighters Day proclamation presented by Mayor Pro Tem Sims.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Town of Clayton International Firefighters Day proclamation. Whereas firefighters dedicate their lives to the protection of life and property, and sometimes that dedication is in the form of countless hours of volunteered over the many years, and others, it is many selfless hours working in the industry. In all cases, it is the risk, the ultimate sacrifice of a firefighter's life. And whereas International Firefighters Day is a time where the community can recognize and honor sacrifices that the firefighters make to ensure that their communities and environment are as safe as possible. It is also a day in which current and past firefighters can be thanked for their contributions. Whereas International Firefighters Day is observed each year on the 4th of May, where we remember the past firefighters who have died while serving our community or dedicated their lives to protecting the safety of us all, and show our support and our appreciation to the firefighters worldwide who continue to protect us so well throughout the year. And whereas hailing from all walks of life, they are our mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, grandparents, neighbors, and friends. They protect us without wanting of recognition or reward. In our time of need, they are there with courage, compassion, and loyalty. They are essential of the true meaning of community. Now, therefore, on the behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we hereby proclaim May 4th, 2024 as the International Firefighters Day. According, I encourage our citizens to observe this day in recognition of the patriotic service and dedicated efforts of our fire and emergency service personnel. Proclaim this 15th day of April, 2024. Jody McLeod, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. And now if we can get our amazing team of firefighters to come up front, we want to acknowledge you for all you do for the town of Cleveland. And I would like to say, while they're getting lined up for a picture, that if you are a Clayton firefighter and today is your birthday, would you please raise your hand? Happy birthday, Matt. Yes. Good job. Thank you. Up next will be Earth Day proclamation presented by Councilmember Casey.
Thank you, Mayor. Town of Clayton Proclamation Earth Day. Whereas waste can be found everywhere, land or sea, even in the most remote places on the planet, affecting both humans and animals. And whereas humankind is currently facing tremendous global challenges, among them the need to manage an increased amount of waste, which will contribute roughly 12,000 million metric tons by 2050. And whereas office paper waste is estimated to be around 12.1 trillion sheets of paper a year, each ton of recycled paper saves an estimated 17 trees. And whereas all people of this earth from all walks of life have a right to a healthy environment, and pollution has been associated with several health issues affecting the general population. And whereas it is essential to involve the community in a design and implementation of solutions for pressing environmental issues such as plastic pollution, and whereas ending pollution is crucial to the survival of this planet and its inhabitants, and whereas Earth Day is an annual reminder of the constant need for environmental activism, stewardship, commitments, and sustainability efforts. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2024 as Earth Day through the town of Clayton, and encourage all its inhabitants, businesses, and institutions to use Earth Day to celebrate the earth and promote the well-being of the inhabitants of the town and protection of their environment. Proclaim this day, the 15th of April, 2024. Jody McLeod.
Thank you, sir. I don't think you get a photo, man. Sorry. I would like to say, for those of you who are visiting with us, for 20 years, I read each and every one of these proclamations. And about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 months ago, I had a brainstorm, and I thought, why don't I get my council members to help me read some of these proclamations? So my express immense appreciation to all of you for that support. I still have 3 to present. Let me call. The next proclamation is the Triangle Adventures Proclamation. Town of Clayton Triangle Adventures Proclamation. Whereas Triangle Adventures is the only e-bike touring company that offers a great, convenient way of enjoying outdoor travel while protecting the environment, and whereas e-bikes make cycling accessible to all fitness levels, it promotes social interaction and an environmentally sound form of transportation to enjoy the town of Clayton's scenic beauty, history, and local attractions. And whereas Triangle Adventures will provide the residents of the town of Clayton and its visitors the experience and the joys of e-biking via a local tour guide to experience scenic viewpoints, hidden gems in the area, and picturesque rides through the beautiful countryside. And whereas the grand opening for Triangle Adventures will take place at 1 p.m. on Saturday, May the 18th at Deep River Brewing Company in Clayton. Now, therefore, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we hereby present to Triangle Adventures this proclamation proclaimed the 15th day of April 2024. And if Triangle Adventures will meet us down front, and welcome to Clayton. And up next, excuse me, will be the Professional Municipal Clerks Week Proclamation. Town of Clayton 55th Annual Professional Municipal Clerks Week Proclamation. Whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk, a time-honored and vital part of local government, exists throughout the world. And whereas the office of the professional municipal clerk is the oldest among public servants, and whereas the office of professional municipal clerk provides the professionalism between the citizens, the local governing bodies, and agencies of government at other levels, and whereas the professional municipal clerk serves as the information center on functions of local government and community, and whereas professional municipal clerks continually strive to improve the administration of the affairs of the office of the professional municipal clerk through participation in education programs, seminars, workshops, and the annual meeting of their state, county, and international professional organizations. whereas it is most appreciated that it is most appropriate that we recognize the accomplishments of the office of the professional municipal clerk. And now therefore, on behalf of the Town of Clayton Town Council, we hereby proclaim and recognize May 5th through the 11th, 2024 as Professional Municipal Clerks Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional municipal clerks and to all professional municipal clerks for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the communities they represent. Presented this the 15th day of April, 2024. And I would be honored to have town clerks meet me right back here and we will have our picture made. Let's go. Can you come this way? Yeah. Yes.
Oh, and Sam, absolutely.
That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And last, but certainly not the least this evening, celebrating 50 years of production at the Griffles site. Town of Clayton, celebrating 50 years of Griffles production site in Clayton proclamation. Whereas Griffles is a local healthcare company headquartered in Barcelona, Spain, specializing in plasma-derived medicines and transfusion medicine. And whereas Griffles operates one of the world's largest production sites of plasma-derived medicines in Clayton, North Carolina, a site that began producing plasma-derived medicines in 1974. Whereas the Clayton site has grown from a 70-acre site with 3 buildings and 100 employees into a 700-acre site with more than 1,600 employees and 30 buildings on 250 developed acres. And whereas Griffles has continued and accelerated the growth of the Clayton site since acquiring it 13 years ago, investing nearly $1 billion in site expansion and improvement and quadrupling the fractionation capacity of the site. And whereas Griffles has continued the site's legacy as a significant employer and strong community partner, and whereas patients around the world depend on the plasma-derived medicines produced by Griffles in Clayton, North Carolina, to treat a variety of chronic, rare, and at times life-threatening conditions. And whereas the town of Clayton celebrates the long history of Griffles Clayton site, its role in providing for the health and well-being of people around the world, and its positive impact on the local community. Now, therefore, in honor of this site's 50th anniversary of producing plasma-derived medicines, on behalf of the Clayton Town Council, we congratulate Griffles and its many employees on this milestone and anticipate the continued partnership between the town of Clayton and Griffles for the betterment of our community and patients around the world. Proclaimed this 15th day of April 2024. And if our guest from Griffles would meet me down front, congratulations. All right, moving right along. Up next is public hearings. The first one is the Unified Development Code, the Unified Development Ordinance Text Amendment, UDOTA 1-24.
Good evening, Mayor and members of council. I'm here with Chad Meadows with Code Right Planners. Before you this evening is the very first round of text amendments to the adopted Unified Development Ordinance. This represents a lot of hours of discussion with staff, with Chad, amongst ourselves. The item was presented to the planning board March 25th, where there was a lot of good discussion. We've also had some subsequent discussion internally, is also based on council's work session earlier this month. So Chad is here to present you the breadth of the work, kind of give you an overhead view of everything that's involved and some of the updates since the planning board meeting as well. So Mr. Chad Meadows, thank you.
Thank you, Conrad. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, council members. All right. I know you guys have a very full agenda this evening, so I will move through this material fairly quickly. Please feel free to stop me with any questions or comments, and I'll be happy to attempt to answer those. I guess I've not noticed that issue on our screen before, so we'll have to do our best. I'm going to take the next 10 minutes. I'm going to give you a quick overview of this round of amendments. There's a couple of minor adjustments that have been made since Planning Board considered this on the 25th of March, and then we'll talk quickly about the next steps. Technology, it's great until it isn't, right? As Conrad mentioned, staff's been really busy implementing the new UDO. You may recall the UDO was adopted on January 2nd of 2024. At least that's when it became effective. This work, you do have a printed copy of this. For you guys in the audience, sorry. What are you going to do? The work that staff has been putting in for the last 4 months reveals that, these documents are living documents. They change as we apply the regulations. New things come up. This slide gives you a quick summary of all of the adjustments to the UDO proposed in this round. They're organized into 7 groups. As I mentioned before, I'm not planning on going over all of these in great detail. I will cover very quickly the main groups. First is the administrative or non-substantive changes. These are proposed for clarity, like the removal of terms or clarification of town processes. 5 more of the 11 administrative changes, things like minor revisions, things that are minor in the nature and proposed for purposes of clarity. Okay, how we measure setbacks, where open space is required, etc. Series of 6 changes to procedures. The conventional rezoning schedule, limiting conventional rezoning applications to a schedule, removal of trails from the fee in lieu procedure, clarification about no petition for the town required as part of a street renaming, some minor language clarifications, and confirmation of the riparian buffer provisions that are administered by the state. 4 changes to our zoning districts, most significantly removal of by right duplex, triplex, quadplex in the residential medium and high density districts. There still are the conditional districts options available for these use types. Clarification that conditional rezonings are intended to result in a higher quality of development than would otherwise result from a strict application of the standards. And then finally, the establishment of some basic or default zoning density provisions for the various conditional zoning districts, and we would expect to come back to you in a few weeks or months with some further discussion about how we handle densities in conditional zoning districts. Okay? 5 changes to uses, including removal of by right self-storage in the light industrial zoning district and using the conditional zoning district instead of that. Removal of transfer stations from the heavy industrial zoning district. the removal of duplexes, triplexes, and quadplexes in RMD and RHD that I mentioned earlier. Development standards. These are the things like parking, lighting, landscaping, et cetera. Series of 10 changes proposed here, some greater clarity for water sewer extension, some provisions regarding street stubs or how we continue streets into vacant properties, clarity about development entry points, clarifications about open space not being required for minor subdivisions. We did soften the greenway sidewalk requirements for minor redevelopments, additions or expansions of existing buildings. We've softened those requirements somewhat to encourage redevelopment and added some greater clarity for wall signs and how we measure sign support structures. A couple other changes. Clarification about the soil erosion sedimentation control provisions, bringing those into alignment with the state laws regarding enforcement. And then finally, just a few changes to definitions based on some of the other changes that were included in this omnibus package. So those are your changes as part of this first round of amendments. As Conrad mentioned, the planning board considered these amendments on March 25th. There was unanimous recommendation for approval. And there has been considerable staff discussion on these matters. In light of that, I'll mention two additional minor changes that have arisen since planning board's consideration. The first of those deals with high schools. Most local governments in the country follow the Religious Land Use and Institutionalized Persons Act, RLUIPA. And it requires local governments to treat schools the same as it would treat fraternal organizations and churches. In order to bring all of our educational, religious facility, and fraternal provisions into alignment, there was a suggestion that we change the requirements for high schools and bring those into alignment with elementary and middle schools for the 4 residential districts as you see on the screen. So this was a minor change, and it's one that's done for the purposes of compliance with federal law. Okay? The other change, we've had considerable amount of discussion about the rules for parking of heavy trucks and vehicles in residential neighborhoods. We would expect some further discussion on this in the coming weeks and months with you as we continue to refine our standards. For now, it's necessary for us to have a minor adjustment to enable the town's administrative and enforcement personnel to enforce the provisions. What we're suggesting is basically conversion from a 10,000-pound gross vehicle weight rating to a 26,000-pound gross vehicle weight rating measurement. So this is the gross vehicle weight rating measurement is something that's stamped on the chassis. The enforcement individuals will be able to review that and apply the standard in the field. Gross vehicle weight approach requires the vehicle to be weighed, which is not something that enforcement staff is going to have in the field. So we are trying to bring these regulations into easier administration, easier alignment with field practice, and we would expect some further discussion about this with you in the coming days and weeks as we continue to grapple with this challenging issue for residential neighborhoods. Okay? In terms of next steps, at your discretion, allowing that, seeing if there's any public comment, we would ask for your vote on tonight's round of amendments. And if the council chooses to approve this package of amendments, we will modify the digital version of the UDO and post it on the town's webpage tomorrow or the next day at the latest. And with that, I will attempt to answer any questions that you may have.
All right, any questions for Mr. Meadows? If not, this has been noted as a public hearing, and I'll open the public hearing. Anyone wishing to comment, please step forward and state your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Chris Rawling. I have had several discussions with your zoning department on the heavy use truck. And the reason I find it pretty much, I guess, the 10,000 pounds that we had rated at. I think that when this ordinance came into it, that there was a lack of information because the amount of people that would be affected from this is astronomical. I live out in pretty much ETJ, the last street from, like I said, city council. I have over an acre of land. My neighbors have 40 acres. And for someone to say that you can't park a vehicle that is my daily, pretty much, use of transportation, my livelihood, I think is completely, like, it's crazy. So with that being said, I have a lot of information on heavy use vehicles. I mean, that's obviously my background. I did prove to planning that my truck was not over the 10,000 pound limit. But long story short, when we're going to sit there and say 26,000 pounds you cannot have on your own personal property, I mean, I think that's crazy. Who is to tell somebody that they can't have a 26,000 pound vehicle on their property? We can have a 48-foot RV on our property. We can have a 50-foot boat. But the people who make a living doing this, the people who use trucks for a living, they can't have these on their personal property. Back in 2022, I had a building put up. It's a 30 by 50 building. It was permitted by the town. I went through every code. I went through everything. They approved it. So now I have a 19-foot truck that weighs 9,300 pounds that sits right beside it. I keep it neat and orderly, and I'm being told I can't have that. I have to go down the street and I have to spend $700 a month on an outdoor storage facility for my truck so I cannot have it at my house. I'm the only livelihood at my house. That truck's my livelihood. And for someone to sit there and say, you can't have your truck on your property, it's a complete violation of my rights as a person on public property. And I do want to read something because this was your guys' previous ordinance that was put in 2004, 2004. And I actually agree with this ordinance. It's trucks concerning trucks parking trailers on residential districts. It states it shall be unlawful to park or leave a standing within a residential zone any truck or truck trailer combination, individual over length of 25 feet or more, or trailer on the street. It said owners of the above state vehicles shall use private property. That is key, private property. So I should be able to put my truck that I use for work on my property because I bought it, I pay taxes, I put a building, I've done everything. And now we're saying that if my truck's 26,000 pounds gross vehicle weight rating, which I don't think people understand what that is. 26,000 pounds is a Ford F-450 that can tow 37,000 pounds, can take you to the grocery store, take your kids to school, and now we're saying we are not allowed to have that on our property. And the other thing too is I agree with that to some extent, but it's zoning. I live on the ETJ. Like I said, I got a neighbor down the street who farms, has 140 acres. The guy across the street from me has 40. Like I said, why can I not have a vehicle because of ordinances we have in the town? I completely do not agree with that. Again, I'm not against ordinances, but the fact that this one, how strict it is, that people of this town who are plumbers, electricians, people who drive big trucks, I understand you're not going to bring a big truck and put it in the middle of downtown Clayton. Completely agree with that. But people like me that live out in the ETJ, that live out in the country, should be able to have stuff like that. And the other thing about it, if there's people that have issues within community, that's why you live in an HOA. That's why you live in a community that has an HOA, because they can regulate and govern that. I don't think the town should sit there and say, no, you can't have a truck that weighs over 10,000 pounds. Because like I said, a Ford F-450, a truck that someone's used to pull their boat, their RV, they can no longer have them at their house now. You have to spend $700 a month at a storage facility to park that. That's irate. So in consideration, when I ask if any amendment can be made to this, I think we need to look back on how it was, and we state on public streets, because every situation on this is going to be different. Some people have land, some people don't. I drove from my house straight down here and saw at least 16 vehicles of that use. And guess what? 5 of them are right down here on this main street. Do I agree with that? No. But who am I to sit there and say that someone that works for a living, drives a truck, comes home from 7 days, parks his truck in his thing, can't have it at his house? Where's he got to put it at? People all have livings, and some people have to have trucks for a living. They have to have uses of trucks. So if we're saying those people can't live in the town of Clayton in residential zones, they have to go do that. What if a plumber works for a company? What if that guy says, I've got to take my truck home every night, and your boss says, well, guess what? If you can't take that truck home, you can't have a job. Well, the town of Clayton says, I can't have a 13,000 pound truck on my property. Is that reasonable? It's not reasonable. So I ask when we look at this, the one I stated previously in 2004, I think that completely makes sense. We need to keep trucks off streets of downtown Clayton. We need to keep them off the streets that it's city property and let people have stuff on their public property. Because the thing too, it's not a safety issue. It's not a nuisance. Like I said, it may be not as appealing to the eye, but why can't I have a 19-foot truck on my property, but someone else can have a 48-foot camper that sits in there, or 4 48-foot campers? Because like I said, you can do that, but you can't have a 19-foot truck. like I said, a tractor trailer, a guy that goes across the road, you can't have 3 axles or more. This guy makes his living with this truck. And now we're going to take a man's living away just because he has a residential property and he's not allowed to put his truck on there. So, I mean, that's really all I have to say, but if you put that in consideration, I mean, I think that I think there's not a lot of facts on this that was done. I think it was just, hey, we don't want big trucks on residential properties, but the array of residential properties in Clayton is a huge aspect. Again, I live out in the country, I have land, but I'm held to the same standards as the guy that has 1/8 of an acre down here, like I said, in the middle of the downtown. So if we do want to do something, I think it needs to be zoning based, it needs to be property based. I mean, I spent $75,000 a building to put my truck in there, to put my truck right beside it. And when I get a violation that says, guess what? You are now in violation. You cannot have your livelihood on your property after the town approved $75,000 building. Do you think I'm going to be happy? I mean, like I said, it's irate. So again, I know this was probably a short vote or something like that. There was not a lot of thought, but if you would put thought in that in consideration and think about the livelihood of the middle class people that actually use trucks, use their vehicles to make a living, like I said, plumbers, electricians, truck drivers, these all people live in Clayton. We're a middle class community. We're not a high class community. And a matter of fact too, I asked him for a bunch of information about this that I never received prior to this deadline. And since I did that, I called a bunch of other communities. I called Raleigh, Holly Springs, Cary, and asked them, what's your guys' ordinance on trucks? And they say, guess what? You can't park a truck on a public street in downtown. I said, what about people that live out in, the suburbs of that? You can have it. So why is Clayton now above and beyond everybody else? That's what I don't understand. I mean, we're a small town community in Johnson County. I mean, we're not a multi-million, we don't have a bunch of, high-end communities around here. I mean, I know we want to be that way, but the thing is we're a middle-class community and we need to keep those standards and keep the middle-class people in the jobs here. Because all these people that have these trucks, that's livelihood and that's jobs that you guys are affecting by saying you cannot have that vehicle on your personal property that you pay personal taxes on, the property that's yours. So that's all I have to say. And if you please put that in consideration, like I said, the one the one that was placed in 2004 that protects the streets, protects everything else, completely agree with it. But when you're telling someone you cannot have your vehicle on your property, what if that vehicle takes their kids to school? What if that vehicle takes their kids to get their family to get groceries? And you're telling someone now they cannot have that property. So, but that's all I have to say. If you please put that in consideration, thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Lisa Mills, 2205 Smith Drive, Smith Ridge Estates. I didn't expect to be speaking about this evening. When you're looking at this, please consider other situations. I understand this gentleman's frustration, and I don't agree with keeping somebody from earning their livelihood. We had a problem in our neighborhood where we had someone move in. They started a dump truck business. They started with 1 dump truck, then 2, then 3. And those dump trucks were going in and out day and night, tearing up the roads. They're working on them on the weekend, pounding away. Don't know what they were doing with the oil and the transmission and fluid and everything else. We live in a residential neighborhood, not an industrial one. Please keep that in mind when you're making these decisions.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor and Town Council, I wasn't expecting to speak on this tonight, but my name is Andrew Klages. I'm on 2004 William Lane in Smith Ridge, and I live with the gentleman who just spoke. I think that the truck that he has on his property is beautiful. It's well presented. It's not dirty. He keeps his property neater than some other properties in the neighborhood. I understand he's using that truck to earn his living and to feed his family. But I also recognize that we do have a neighbor who has started something of a dump truck business in the neighborhood. So what I would ask is that the town council would consider differentiating between what this gentleman's doing, which is just parking his tractor, not the tractor and the trailer, just the tractor, which is a beautiful brand new white truck on his property that looks great, versus somebody who's operating a dump truck business in the neighborhood. And perhaps, we could look at saying that, the dump truck business is conducting a commercial enterprise, and therefore that would fall under some other jurisdiction. But in the case of the gentleman who's just parking his tractor trailer in that neighborhood, there's plenty of space for it. It looks good. His property always looks neat. And I wouldn't want to stop anybody from putting a vehicle on their property that they're using to feed their family under any circumstance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? No one else wishing to speak on this matter? I'll close the public hearing and turn it over to the council for discussion. Ms. Archer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to staff and Chad for putting together a great set of corrections that are much needed. It's kind of exciting. It's our first quarter here in Clayton with our new code. So we did anticipate this, and this will be something that happens consistently going forward, where we keep updating it and making sure it's working for everyone. I appreciate everyone who spoke on the issue tonight regarding parking of heavy trucks. As noted in the presentation, this is something that the council will be further considering in the coming weeks so that we get a resolution. As you can tell from the comments that were made this evening, it is a difficult issue to kind of parse it out, but I'm confident that it's something that we can look at and look at all the different angles, especially what was mentioned here tonight. So excellent feedback and research that was done. So I would expect you to hear more from us on that topic in the coming months, where we hash it out and look for something reasonable. And on that note, I'm ready to make a motion to adopt the ordinance unless my other council members have comments. Okay. Then at this time, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-04-04.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for adoption of the ordinance 2024-04-04. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign, and motion carries. All right, up next under public hearing is the Downtown Clayton Social District, and I will give the floor to Lydia Davis, Economic Development Specialist.
While Lydia sets that up, Patrick Pierce, Economic Development Director. Lydia and Amy Scher in our office have done a lot of work on this, and I know we've had communications at work sessions and such with mayor and council on this, and there's been a lot of outreach, which we'll see here, but just wanted to take an opportunity to at least thank them for their work and their hard work on putting this together and getting in front of you for your consideration.
Good evening. Gonna hop right in? Okay. All right, so just some background why we're here presenting this to you tonight. Several businesses and community members, when this legislation was passed, have expressed interest in creating a social district here in downtown. So with that, nearly a year ago, Town Council asked the Downtown Development Advisory Board and staff to explore what a social district here in Clayton could look like. And thus the board and staff created a Downtown Clayton Social District Task Force, which has done research, outreach, and helped form the recommendation tonight. So up there on the screen, where those are on the Social District Task Force members, so combined many different types of businesses and groups to create a very well-rounded task force. So our outreach efforts to date, both the Downtown Strategic Plan and Downtown Master Plan had survey questions related to a social district, so we could kind of do a temperature check in the middle of those projects as well. The task force has met monthly since last August. There's been many conversations, one-on-one, small groups, et cetera, with our businesses, staff, task force members, and there was 2 larger webinars in November 8th and November 15th, inviting businesses and stakeholders to come learn more about what the proposal is and answer any questions they may have. And then December 11th, the task force gave an update to the Downtown Development Advisory Board, and that advisory board made a motion to recommend the creation of a social district to Town Council. So the legislation that allows this is House Bill 890, and then there's also some clarifying legislation in House Bill 211. So I'm just going to hit kind of the high-level pieces related to what a social district is and what the legislation states. So a social district refers to a defined outdoor area in which a citizen may consume alcoholic beverages that are sold by an ABC permittee located within the district only during certain days, times, conditions, and in a designated container, which we'll jump into in a bit. This does have to be adopted by a town ordinance, but can easily be dissolved at any time. This legislation was born during COVID with social distancing and wanting to be outdoors. But since then, some other goals such as driving foot traffic to downtown and leveling the playing field for different brick and mortar businesses with permits. So again, social district designated area where someone can consume alcohol sold by an ABC permittee. So that can include both indoor and outdoor areas of businesses in the defined area, privately owned property, including permittees and non-permitted businesses, multi-tenant establishments, and public streets, crossroads, or parking areas. It's the sole discretion of a business within the district to choose whether or not they would like to participate. There can be more than one, and once created, a local government can also eliminate it easily by the passing of an ordinance. So a permittee, the list up there shows which types of permittees can sell and serve into a social district cup. It's pretty much any type of on-premise permit. So again, a permittee can only sell and serve alcoholic beverage on its licensed premise. It cannot set up and sell off of its licensed premise. And social district beverages can only be sold into a designated container, which has to clearly show where it was purchased from, have the social district logo so it's easily identifiable, not be glass, have drink responsibly, be 21 on it, and cannot hold more than 16 fluid ounces. Following any passage of the ordinance here at Town Council, there would need to be a filing with the ABC Commission. They have to approve the map, days and hours, signage, the copy of the ordinance, and all of that. And then they also require there to be a social district logo and a website created that houses all the information. There are uniform decals that would go up for the businesses throughout downtown. So businesses that allow drinks in and are able to serve must display a door decal when the district is active. This provides notice that non-permitted business is included in the social district and allows alcohol on its premise. Otherwise, if there's no decal on a door of a business, social district beverages are not allowed inside of that location. And again, no business is required to participate, whether they have an ABC permit or not. There will also be informational signage that is throughout the district that clearly shows what the geographic area of the district is and the days and hours of which the district is active. There is a clear statement on that sign that states that drinks purchased for consumption in the district shall only be consumed within the district and do need to be disposed of before someone leaves the district. As I mentioned, it was a secondary bill that was passed that just added some updates and clarifications to the original legislation. So I'll just breeze through some of the large ones here that we've been able to discuss. Possession of alcohol in closed containers within the social district is still allowed. There was some confusion there, but people can still purchase closed containers as long as they remain in closed container. Special one-time event or event permits. The ABC Commission can still issue special one-time permits for events that occur within a premise inside the social district. So special event permits and one-time use permits can coexist within a social district, but that does not mean that those serving under those one-time special event permits can serve into a social district cup. So just a clarification there. And then likewise, an ABC permittee in a social district is no longer prohibited from allowing a patron who purchased an alcoholic beverage from another ABC permittee to enter into their permitted business. That business has the option to choose whether they do want to allow that or not. So just some level setting, there are 51 and counting other communities in the state that since this legislation has passed have taken advantage of this. Not a single one of them has reversed their decision or dissolved their social district. Statewide, there has been a lot of positive feedback related to social districts. I know that there's been no uptick for any of these communities in public disturbances, that thousands more visitors have come to downtown and been able to enjoy. It's been a huge economic development driver, and some communities have even cited that it's been an incentive for new businesses looking to open in their social district. So jumping into specifically what a social district is proposed to look like here in downtown Clayton, the times and dates that the task force and town staff are proposing are Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., and then Sunday, noon to 10 p.m. The district will be essentially throughout the downtown core, which is defined here as Ellington to Smith on Main, and then designated areas along 1st and 2nd Street. General metric when deciding this was where each social district location was less than half a mile from the next location and has safe sidewalk connectivity. So that there is the map of kind of what the boundaries would look like. Again, this would be on all the signage throughout the district. There's an example of what the logo will look like. This will be on all the decals, signage, the stickers that go on the cups, etc. Here's a look at the signage, and these are still in draft form until officially approved by the ABC Commission. But example of that one there on the right of the larger signs that would be installed as U-channel or otherwise upright signs throughout the core of the district that have all the information required by the legislation. And then the bottom sign, the more rectangular looking one, would be along the periphery of the district. It actually would be a ground sticker. So as people are walking out, they see that and know that they are at the edge of the district and should dispose of their drink before walking any further. This is a look at those door decals that were mentioned. So all businesses would display a decal or two. And if no decal is displayed, then social district drinks are not welcome. A note there that businesses could possibly display more than one decal, such as a blue and a green one together, meaning that they are both selling drinks and welcoming them in. So there could be more than one on a door. But if there's no decal at all displayed, it is assumed that no drinks are welcomed inside that business. This is what the sticker would look like. That would be on the cups. So this would be a template that we could provide to businesses. They order them as needed and can attach it to any cup that they're serving into that fits the requirement. So they would write where it says sold by, they would write the name of the business that sold that drink, as well as the date and time. So next steps, just process-wise, tonight's public hearing. And then May 6th, there will be another reading and then consideration for adoption of the ordinance then. Once that happens, if we are to move forward, then we would submit the ordinance to ABC for final approval following the May 6th meeting. So if it's approved tonight, May 6th, and then also by the ABC Commission, staff will jump into building out that social district website, ordering and installing signage, the window clings, the sticker design for cups, all of that. Bring the task force back together probably around June to have a discussion about communication and the rollout plan prior to the ordinance's effective date of July 11th. And then the task force plans to meet again near the end of the summer, late summer, early fall, to just kind of review the first few months of rollout and make any edits from there. Any questions related to social district in downtown Clayton?
Questions or comments for staff? Mr. Case.
I have a comment. First off, I want to thank the staff. This is very thorough. Y'all done a lot of research, done your homework, and looked at a lot of the other communities in the area and seen what they've done. And so I appreciate that. I feel like this is a great collaboration with the businesses downtown, our public safety officials, the community overall. And I'm excited about this opportunity. I appreciate the businesses also bringing it to our attention. They asked for this. They felt like this would be a good economic driver and draw more people to our unique and beautiful downtown. So thank you.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. This has been noted as a public hearing. Anyone wishing to speak on this, please step forward and state your name for the record. All right. No one wishing to speak. I'll close the public hearing and thank staff for all the input and for this information only aspect of this process. Thank you. All right, up next is the 2023-115 CZM Carolina Overlook North conditional rezoning. And I have been asked to give the floor to the applicant at this time.
Mayor and council, thank you. At this time, we would like to request a deferral for 1 month to the May 20th council meeting. We received some information today that we'd like to respond to in a thoughtful manner, and 1 month delay would give us that time. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Is that good with council? Is it good with the calendar?
Yes, I believe that works. And then I just wanted to ask the attorney, do we need that in the form of a motion?
Yes. And I guess the question is whether you're going to open the public hearing or defer the public hearing.
It's my preference to defer the public hearing.
Okay.
Do it all at one time.
You would need a motion to continue it to that date, sir.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to continue ordinance 2024-04-03 to the May 20th, 2024 council meeting.
Second. We have a motion and a second to defer this to the May 20th meeting, 2024. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. So basically, this is going to be continued until May the 20th, and I think it's a wise move. I just want to state for the record, for many of you who are here, to acknowledge that both the mayor and the council have received many emails with concerns over this, and I just want to acknowledge that for the record, that they have been received, they have been read, and notes have been taken from those emails. So thank you very much. I apologize for the inconvenience, but it is within the rights of an applicant to ask for a postponement, and that's what's just happened, and the council has agreed to it. So we will reconvene here on May the 20th to continue, not even to continue, to hold the public hearing for this particular item, May the 20th. Thank you. Second. Yeah, we'll go ahead and call for a 2-minute recess. Let's see, the next item on the agenda is the 2023-124 SUP Creekside Townhomes modification.
Mr. Mayor and Council, included in the agenda packet was a letter from the applicant requesting that this public hearing, quasi-judicial hearing, be continued until May 20th. If you're open to that, they were unable to make the meeting, and they would have some further conditions of approval there we're trying to work out with staff at this time.
Is that going, Rich, is that like the last one is now May 20th and now this one is May 20th, and I don't want to overwork staff in addition to town council. So.
Fully understand that. Actually, I was going to put a request into our planning director to see if he by any chance knows what other items that were scheduled to come on the 20th, to see how all these are stacking up, because near and dear to my heart, it is budget season. So there was obviously the next first meeting in May, we'll be having a work session to delve pretty deep into the budget. I believe the 20th was the date that we were going to be doing the public hearing and actual requests for consideration of the budget. Certainly can look at pushing that to the first meeting in June. We are statutorily required to adopt before July 1, so get a little nervous if we push it out too far, but certainly want to see if Conrad has an idea of what other planning-related items may be shaping up for the 20th as well.
So with the continuation of tonight's item to the 20th, it might be prudent to continue this to the 3rd of June. We would just need to confirm that with the applicant. We do have another tentative special use permit that we would like to bring, we got tentatively for the 20th of May. So it really depends on the council's preference if we want to have this modification, another SUP presentation, as well as the item that was continued from this evening. Do we know if the applicants are able to attend the 3rd of June? Or any indication from them at all?
I just do know the first meeting in May would not work, so they went default to the second meeting.
So we do know that they wanted to continue us the 20th. My recommendation is possibly to push it to the 3rd, and the applicants need to show up on the 3rd.
I would agree. I would agree. So since I just think if we could inform the applicant that it's going to work better for the council's agenda to be continued until June 3rd.
So, yes, sir.
That would be great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
And Mr. Mayor, would you like me to make a motion?
I think we need one, don't we, Mr. Attorney? Yeah.
Okay.
Motion to continue.
I'd like to make a motion to continue the approval of SUP 2023-124-SUP to May 20th, 2020, I'm sorry, to June 3rd, 2024.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to continue this item till June 3rd, 2024. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Up next under old business is the 2023-143 SUP Pinnacle Indoor Storage Unit Facility.
Mayor, the order in that case was just circulated today. It documents your denial of that application from the March meeting. If you haven't had time to look at it, you can certainly defer that, or if you're comfortable with the order as drafted, you can go ahead.
I had a time to briefly review it, and I'm comfortable moving forward if my other councilman members are. Okay. Mr. Mayor, I would like to make a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-04-04.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the adoption of ordinance 2024-0404. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. Thank you. Up next, staff reports, beginning with the town manager.
Well, Mr. Mayor, in all honesty, I expected this to be a much longer meeting, so I did not prepare a lot of comments, other than to say I did just want to make a reminder that for our next work session on May 6th, that will be a half day, starts at noon for us, because we will be getting pretty deep into the budget, as well as a few other updates. So just a reminder for all of you to have that on your calendars, and we will certainly look at how the rest of these meeting items are stacking up to see how those next couple of meetings in May and June are going to look. That's it for me.
Yeah, we already have that work session from noon until 5. It's on the calendar. Thank you. All right. Town attorney?
Just back on the social district ordinance, in the interest of council time, that could be put on consent at the May 6th meeting, if you agree with that.
We have consent. Thank you. We'll place that item on the consent agenda. All right, any other, town clerk, I'm sorry.
No report.
Any other staff? All right, I'll now open the floor for informal discussion and public comment. Anyone wishing to speak, please step forward and state your name for the record. All right, no one wishing to speak, I'll turn it over to council for comments. Sure.
Now that everybody's left the room, this Saturday, we're having Clayton Earth Day cleanup. Meet at the farmer's market and pick up your supplies from 8 to 11. And then we're encouraging people to go around town and help beautify our community by picking up trash and such along our roads, our greenways, our high schools, our schools and such. So, and then we're going to have a celebration at Deep River afterwards at 1. We're going to actually give prizes away to the people that participate in the event as well. So it's this Saturday, pick your supplies up at the farmer's market from 8 to 11, and then a celebration afterwards at Deep River at 1 o'clock. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Anyone else? All right, if not, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss purchasing of real estate property.
Motion to go into closed session.
We have a motion and a second to go into closed session. Is there any further discussion?
Can I second it with the addition of discussion of an economic development issue?
That would be good considering that's the second line under what I just read. Thank you for the clarification. Yes, for those two items. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Sorry, I'd like to call our meeting back to order. Is there any further business to come before this council? Being none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Good night.